Truth leaves a trace, the anatomy of erasure. There is a common myth in the world of the predatory, the idea of the clean break. It is the seductive belief that if you are precise enough, or if you wait long enough, the world will simply forget you were ever there. This is Latent True Crime. Subscribe to this channel now to join this and other chilling investigations. Here we deconstruct that myth. We are looking at two cases separated by nearly 4 decades and thousands of miles. One involves a modern-day scholar of murder who believed he could outrun the very system he studied. The other involves a ghost, a man of 1,000 names who hid his victims in the quiet woods of New Hampshire, thinking the earth would keep his secrets forever. But science has a long memory. And as we will see, whether it's a single cell of DNA left on a knife sheath in 2022, or a strand of hair pulled from a rusted barrel 40 years later, truth leaves a trace. On November 13, 2022, the small college town of Moscow, Idaho, was a place of fractured peace. At 1122, King Road, inside a house filled with the fading echoes of a Saturday night, 4 lives were extinguished with surgical silence. To the public, it looked like a random act of madness. But to the investigators, the scene felt practiced. There was a chilling economy of movement in the carnage. Enter Bryan Kohberger. He wasn't just a suspect, he was a PhD student in criminology. This was a man who spent his hours analyzing the mistakes of others. He understood Locard's exchange principle better than most, the idea that every perpetrator leaves something behind and takes something with them. Kohberger's plan was built on a foundation of academic arrogance. The digital vacuum, he turned off his phone to avoid the silent handshakes with cell towers. The ghost vehicle, he drove a nondescript white Elantra, common, blending into the white noise of American traffic. He thought he was the observer, standing safely behind the glass of his own intellect. But Kohberger made a fatal calculation. He prepared for the digital world, but he forgot the biological one. On the snap of a tan leather knife sheath, he left a microscopic fragment of himself. Just a few skin cells, epithelial DNA. While he sat in his classroom weeks later, debating the psychology of crime with his peers, the FBI was already building a bridge. They didn't just have a car, they had a genetic profile. Through investigative genetic genealogy, they didn't need his DNA in a database, they only needed his third cousins. The student of murder had become the ultimate case study in his own failure. Kohberger's case was solved in weeks because we live in an era of instant connectivity. But what happens when the killer is a phantom? In the autumn of 1985, Brook State Park in New Hampshire was a tapestry of orange and gold. But beneath the canopy, a hunter found a 55-gallon drum. Inside were the skeletal remains of a woman and a child. The investigation was a void. No names. No missing persons reports. Then, 15 years later, the woods gave up more. A second barrel was found just yards away, containing 2 more children. One of them, a girl no older than 3, became known only as the middle child. For decades, these 4 souls were the faces of a forgotten tragedy. The man who put them there was a master of the invisible life. Peder Rasmussen didn't just kill, he erased. He lived under a dozen aliases: Curtis Kimball, Gordon Jensen, Larry Vanner. He moved through the 80s like a glitch in the system. He was a chameleon, a man who understood that if you never stay in one place, you never leave a shadow. The breakthrough didn't come from a detective's notebook. It came from the stable isotopes in the victim's teeth and hair. Forensic insight: by analyzing the chemical signature of the water the victims drank, scientists could track their movement across the country years before they died. It provided a map where there were no records. Then came 2025. Using the same genetic genealogy that broke the Kohberger case, investigators pulled a name out of the ether. The middle child wasn't just another victim. Her name was Rasmussen. She was Terry's own biological daughter. Rasmussen had murdered his own flesh and blood and discarded her alongside a family that wasn't hers, a final, cruel act of erasure. He thought the 40-year gap had made him invisible. He was wrong. The earth didn't keep his secrets, it preserved the evidence. Two men. Two eras. One was an expert who thought he knew too much, the other was a chameleon who thought he could stay hidden forever. They both underestimated the relentlessness of the molecule. DNA does not forget. Isotopes do not lie. And time is no longer a shield for the guilty. Today, 1122, King Road is a vacant lot, and the barrels of Brook are long since removed. But the names, Kaylee, Madison, Xana, Ethan, and Ray, they have been pulled back from the silence. These stories remind us that the passage of time is not a pardon. Whether it takes 50 days or 40 years, the truth has a way of rising to the surface, clawing its way through the dirt and the digital noise. In this world, there is no such thing as a clean break. There is only the long, patient wait for the trace to be found. Because in the end, no matter how smart you think you are, truth leaves a trace. To be the first to get our more chilling LatentTrueCrime stories, click the subscribe button below, and also share your view on this case in the comments section. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching.